The courtroom buzzed with whispers as the small boy stepped forward, his feet barely touching the ground beneath the witness stand. Some people smiled mockingly, others shook their heads in disbelief. What could a 9-year-old child possibly say in a place ruled by power, law, and adults who had already decided his mother was guilty? Yet behind those innocent eyes was not fear, but quiet fire, the kind born when life teaches justice too early. He watched the prosecutor smirk, watched the judge lean back as if this was entertainment, not a fight for his mother's life. They didn't know he had spent nights reading dusty law books instead of comics, didn't know every insult. Every tear had carved intelligence sharper than any lawyer in that room. And while they laughed, thinking this was a joke, they didn't hear the storm rising inside him, ready to strike. His mother, Elise Carter, had been accused of a theft she never committed, framed by a wealthy store owner who couldn't accept a black woman speaking against his mistreatment. She worked 2 jobs, stayed silent through humiliation, but when she refused to apologize for something she hadn't done, he used the law like a weapon. The public defender assigned to her barely cared, flipping through files without passion, while the judge seemed impatient, already convinced of her guilt. Her son Malik sat in the back row every hearing, his small hands clenched, memorizing every word spoken against her. He didn't cry. He didn't beg. He learned. He learned legal terms, courtroom procedures, and the very loopholes lawyers ignored. No one noticed when he requested permission to speak. They only noticed when he started talking, not with trembling fear, but with calm precision that made the room fall silent. The judge hesitated, eyebrows raised, but curiosity won over doubt, and he allowed Malik to proceed. The courtroom expected childish pleas, but instead he began by pointing out inconsistencies in the store's security footage timestamps, his voice steady, eyes fixed on the prosecutor. He stated that the footage presented as evidence was edited, highlighting how the shadow positions from the windows didn't match the recorded time. The prosecutor scoffed, yet his confidence wavered when Malik presented a small notebook full of observations he had written during every hearing. Page after page detailed dates, statements, missing records, and even the names of employees who quit right after the incident. Murmurs rippled through the courtroom as he continued. The judge leaned forward, no longer dismissive but intrigued. The store owner shifted uncomfortably. Malik then asked permission to question him directly. The room tensed. The judge nodded. Malik stepped closer, small but unshaken, and asked why inventory logs from the night of the supposed theft had been destroyed only hours after the accusation. The owner stuttered, claiming they were irrelevant, but Malik countered by citing a legal code that demanded preservation of all records in active investigations. The audience held their breath. He then exposed a document he found in a discarded folder, a staff resignation letter describing pressure from the owner to lie about Elise's involvement. Gasps spread across the room. The prosecutor objected, but the judge allowed it, recognizing its potential value. Malik's voice didn't tremble once. He spoke of how his mother was searched without a warrant, how no stolen object was ever recovered from her, and how the only witness against her had been offered money and a promotion. The judge's expression hardened at the mention of bribery. Malik walked back to his place, placing his worn notebook on the table like a sword that had already struck. The prosecutor attempted to salvage the case, but his words now sounded weak against the child's terrifying clarity. Elise sat frozen, tears silently falling, not from fear but from overwhelming pride and heartbreak. The judge called for a recess, leaving everyone in stunned silence. Outside the courtroom, reporters waited like vultures, but none dared approach the boy whose courage had shifted the ground beneath powerful men. During recess, the store owner's lawyer approached the judge in private, whispering frantic negotiations, but it was too late. Eyes were now open. Truth had been spoken in a voice no one expected, and the court could no longer pretend not to hear it. When the judge returned, the room was silent as stone. He announced that all charges against Elise Carter were dropped due to lack of evidence and signs of manipulation. Then, in a rare act of justice, he ordered an investigation into the store owner and the prosecutor for fabricating evidence and abusing the law. The courtroom, once filled with laughter and doubt, now stood in awe of a child who dared to challenge them. Malik didn't smile or celebrate. He simply walked to his mother, took her trembling hand, and whispered that it was over. She knelt, holding him tightly as reporters clicked their cameras, not to mock, but to honor. The judge watched them, realizing the law had been defended not by power, but by a 9-year-old boy with nothing but truth and love for his mother. And nobody laughed again.